At a national stakeholders conference themed Advancing Agroecology Principles and Practice for Food Sovereignty in Nigeria, experts are urging the federal government to adopt a national agroecology policy framework. The event, organized by the Health of Mother Earth Foundation and its partners, focused on sustainable alternatives to Nigeria's deepening food crisis. Guest speaker and national coordinator of the Organic and Agroecology Initiative, Professor Adeoluwa, says agroecology holds a vast potential for achieving food sovereignty, but only if backed by sound policies and a clear understanding of its principles.
Agroecology as a practice is poorly understood in Nigeria and many developing countries of the world. And the reason why this happens is that we don't understand the importance of it, in terms of how this can contribute to food security through sovereignty.
Executive Director of the Health of Mother Earth Foundation criticized the 2015 National Biosafety Act, describing it as outdated and flawed. He called on the reconstitution of the National Biosafety Management Agency board, which he claims is dominated by GMO promoters.
Agroecology is not merely an alternative to GMOs or the use of synthetic fertilizers. It is the core solution to the interconnected challenges of food insecurity and climate change. It addresses these issues by building ecological models.
Dr. Kashmir Ifeanyi, a molecular biologist and food safety advocate, outlines key threats to food sovereignty in Nigeria, including the exclusion of smallholder farmers, limited access to credit, insecurity, and the perishability of local produce.
Anything other than agroecological practices is a departure from our cultural and traditional agricultural system, which our foreparents bequeathed to us. For which reason, the rail tracks were built from River State to Maiduguri and to Kano to take agri-produce to Europe. We can no longer do that today.
It's not just about food insecurity, but food that will give you good health. You don't just eat. You don't eat to die. We eat to live. So what agroecology is trying to do is that in as much as we want to put food on our table, we want to put healthy food on our table.
With agroecology gaining traction globally as a pathway to food safety and environmental resilience, a growing question remains: can Nigeria truly safeguard its food system while allowing GMOs to thrive unchecked?
That's a lot to unpack, and to help us with that, Professor Adeoluwa, National Coordinator, Organic and Agroecology Initiative, as well as lecturer, Department of Soil Resources Management, University of Ibadan, joins me on the news to discuss it further. Thank you so much for being on the news tonight.
Welcome.
So a lot of questions arising from, that summit you had earlier today. But let's begin by breaking this down for Nigerians who may not be familiar with this term or initiative that is gaining traction globally. Agroecology, what's that? And how does it differ from our normal agric farming methods that we have?
Well, thank you. When we're talking about agroecology, we actually not talking about the way our forefathers farmed. Yes, they did what they did naturally, but not with intention of a specific concept. Because when we're talking about agroecology, we are talking about holistic and integrated agricultural system that combines both sociological and agroecological ecological practices in order to ensure sustainable agricultural system and as well as food system. So in agroecology is intentional. Whatever they do is intentional. Unlike our forefathers that farmed based on the limited resources they had and their knowledge. But in agroecology, you have the involvement of science, you have the involvement of politics, you have the involvement of stakeholders, desire for specificity, So it's actually more than the traditional way of farming.
Okay, so when you talk about our forefathers, they definitely did not have to go through climate change, troubles, and erratic weather patterns. So how does this agroecology help countries like Nigeria build resilience in the face of climate change? We've seen the Ministry of Health just last week warned about rising sea levels. We've had thunderstorm forecasts, flooding coming. So how does this help us build resilience against all of this and still have food security?
Well, I start from the perspective of the soil, because I am a soil fertility person, basically. Now, when you improve the fertility of the soil with agroecological methods like compost, like manure, even if it has to do with liquid fertilizers. The tendency is for you to build the organic matter content of the soil, which also increase the ability of the soil to retain moisture, so that even if there's a drought situation, when in the conventional farming system where you have a lot of the use of chemical fertilizers, for example, in 3 days, the plant will have felt it, because there wouldn't be substances, which we call organic matter, in the soil that could have held more moisture in the soil temporarily. But whereas in the organic agroecological system, you will have, this there. So it can sustain more moisture in the soil, then an ability of the plant to also cope with disease. I'm talking about soil-borne diseases there. Even above the ground is there. When it comes to livestock, the same. The resilience, the ability of the animals to resist common diseases. Look at our local chicken. They roam all about. Who gives them antibiotics? Who immunizes them?
They are resistant.
They're resistant because they develop the immunity over time. So also when we raise crops, or livestock or aquaculture animals naturally, the resistance to challenges will be there.
Okay, so I see why agroecology may be at odds with GMO, which was highlighted at the summit today. They are opposing each other. But how do we upscale agroecology in Nigeria? And going through your paper earlier, I saw a link between agroecology and nutrition. You're saying we should not just plant to live, but we should plan to eat healthier foods. What's the connection?
Well, the connection between agroecology and healthy food production is that agroecological practices definitely ensure healthy food production, because the food we eat, by definition, the food is not just what goes into our mouth. Ideally, the food should make us healthy. But if a food has been produced by unhealthy practices, chemicals that could kill insects may not kill human being immediately, but gradually. Our body cannot process such substances. And whatever the body cannot metabolize will be retained in the body. At times maybe in the bone, at times maybe in the liver, maybe in the kidney, and then before you know it, we have, organs malfunctioning. So now, when a food is produced, whether for crop or livestock, produced agroecologically, it's safe, because you have, a right combination of the components of the food. And that is what we are clamoring for.
Upscaling. Where are we, and can we upscale this?
We can upscale.
Okay.
Where we know currently the challenge of agroecology in Nigeria has to do with poor orientation, and awareness is still on the low side, because people still kept thinking that, is it possible? I'm not just an academic, I'm not just a researcher. I manage our family farm, for over a decade.
With agroecology?
Of course, yes. We do, basic organic, and then we never had problems with insects and diseases.
All right. So hopefully we can begin to grow the awareness and upskill this in Nigeria to enable food security and healthier eating. Thank you so much. Professor Olubenga Adeoluwa is the National Coordinator of Organic and Agroecology Initiative. He's also a lecturer at the Department of Soil Resources Management, University of Ibadan. Thank you.